Hey, glad you can make it. Welcome to Fantasy Dad Pods, where dad bods are glorified and dad jokes are encouraged. I'm JT, accompanied by Sean. Sean, how we doing?
Pretty good. Long time no chat. We're back. Dad bods are encouraged, and so are dad mustaches, which I'm rocking now. JT can see it, so we're going full dad style right now. Yeah, it's been a while, so I don't like nothing crazy to report on the dad front. Just the two boys running around. They're both mobile now, sort of. Yeah, so
There
yeah,
you go.
one is technically crawling and moving, so he's doing a little spin action a lot of the time too. But he is going in a direction he wants to go. So both mobile now. So all four boys in the Fantasy Dad Pods podcast family are mobile. It's
There we
terrifying.
go.
It's terrifying.
Nice. I'm not rocking a stash, but I'm rocking a dad bod. But I've been working on the dad bod. New diet, new year.
Oh,
I think it's the first time I've ever done like a New Year's thing, but it's with the wife, and gotta admit, it's kind of fun. It's kind of like a Atkins keto type thing, and you just eat a bunch of meat, and
there
so
you
it's
go.
really just like caveman.
You're just
Had
living off Wendy's Baconators, is what you're saying.
had,
Like,
had one last night. How'd you know?
did you really?
Yeah, we
Oh
got
gosh.
tickets to the hockey game, and the boys were super hungry after, and the Wendy's is like right around the corner there, and
That and Arby's, if you want to sponsor the pod, but they have the meats out here. So there you
yeah,
go. There you
and
go.
what Wendy's is super friendly. Even on the app, you can just say
Yeah.
no bun,
Oh
lettuce
yeah, yeah.
wrap. Yeah,
I just started using the app. It's really nice. So yeah, what we're saying is Dollar Shave Club for the stash, or if there's like some shaving products or gel to goose up this mustache, and Wendy's, Arby's, whoever just sponsor this pod, I guess. There we go.
if they sponsor, you have to grow it out so you could curl it on the ends. That's the
I'm
deal.
really close actually already. So I mean, like, yeah, they'll throw me some stuff. I'll curl this bad boy. We'll do a visual podcast too, so they can even see their handiwork. Or we'll post a picture of us online as I'm
We'll get
curling it or
two
something.
cameras, one from the side profile and then the other from the front.
So just like a mugshot. Got it. Yeah, yeah. You just want me to take a
I took
mugshot.
one of Yeah, I took a
I've
mugshot
shown
of you
that
years
one for
ago.
the yeah
That
for that
mullet with the
I had a
steps.
mullet mustache combo, and I've shown people
Oh,
that
that's
that combo.
right.
Yeah, I had a mullet on top of that, and yeah,
No, I
I
remember the mullet. I remember you had, and then you said the stash, and I go, "That's why I brought it up too." That's
yeah,
it
yeah.
was
That's Yeah, I had a mullet mustache. I do not have a mullet now. Growing that much hair is a problem at this point in my life. So
not in
yeah,
the back
that's
though.
no, not in the back, but they look even worse. Like balding on top, all of it in the back. Like I'm definitely getting arrested. Like at that point, I'm like, I swear these two kids are my boys. And they're like, no, 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 that's not happening. No, no one would believe that. So I can't get away
Past
with that anymore.
past tense, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
over.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So it's been too long. So I'm gonna start us off with the dad joke. So I told the jokes on a Teams meeting the other day, and nobody laughed. And so I guess it turns out that I'm not even remotely funny.
Wait, so like that's a good one, but like, is it true that you actually told a meeting on Teams, or is that the setup
Um,
of the joke?
so working where I work, it's kind of like we have weekly safety meetings,
Yeah.
and so every I don't know 3 to 6 months they are like, hey, you know, can you do the beginning safety topic for the meeting? And usually I make it pretty fun and whimsical. And usually I've sung before. I've rewritten the
Ooh.
lyrics to an NSYNC
Well, I
song to
mean,
make it
JT does have a
safety
new single out
related.
now,
Yeah.
so I'm just saying.
So just saying, like I make it fun and at least keep it on this topic of safety, but it can be really dry at meetings. So I like to put my own spin on it. Um, so usually I'm putting myself way out there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people enjoy it, but I'm sure a lot of people are probably just like, what are you doing? Like maybe they don't even know the NSYNC song. Like, cause they're
That's
like,
on them though. That's a them issue. Like, if you don't know an NSYNC song, like,
so, although I will make comments on other like those same meetings, and I'll just drop a GIF, and
Yeah.
it's safe for work, but it's
Yeah.
funny, and I don't really get too much feedback on that. Or I'll type a funny response, like something whimsically, like like just witty, and I don't get a lot of feedback. So that's the vibe. That's like, oh,
Damn.
maybe I'm not remotely funny.
So it's a
So,
double win. You're not remotely funny, but by saying that, you are funny. There you go. I
well,
get
I
it.
think it's just in the single form of it.
No, it's a
It's not in
layer.
person.
It's a layer like with cheese and some bacon. Baconator brought it back, and because I just really want a baconator, I guess is where I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
Wendy's. I'll grow out a ginger pigtails. Is that what they're like?
Yeah, they're like
But they're
pigtails.
like,
Yeah,
oh, what was that movie? And then it was in the '90s, and that girl had the pigtail. Pippi Longstockings.
I was never gonna get there. I'm glad you got there. I was gonna be no help in that situation.
My sister could come
Was it a
and
movie?
guest
Actually, Pippi Longstocking?
sponsor, like be basically the logo, but like the Wendy's,
Yeah, there you
if we
go.
needed
There you
it,
go. I'm
like a
down
real
with that.
life Wendy's
I'm down with that.
sponsor.
I've speaking of old, I referenced the old commercial Crossfire. Remember that board game
Ooh,
growing
yeah.
up? Crossfire, the cool like electric guitar, like late '80s Crossfire, that type of thing. Yeah, it did that for you. And no one on my team got it. And then this meeting I was in, and I was like, "You're all children.
What?
You're all children. Like I can't believe you." And then I had to like Google the song Crossfire, the commercial for them, and play it. And they're like, "Oh,
You
because we saw this product called Crossfire." And I was like, "Come on, guys! I think of that every time." Like, how do you? Because
Crossfire?
someone messed up the name. They're like Cross Soft, and I was like, "That's not the name. It's Crossfire." And they're like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, immediately the song goes through my head every
Duh.
time. Like, come on, like,
You sung it just now, and then I literally immediately like went back and go,
yeah,
that ad ends, and then Baywatch comes back on. Like
boom.
it. I'm in an era
Yeah,
right now. You just
yeah,
set the
like
tone.
yeah, like it brings you back, and I just cannot believe that kids on my team did not get that, and it made me feel really sad. So I knew you'd get it, and that everyone at our age gets it. And if you don't get this and you're listening to it, then you're a young kid. You can't grow this mustache probably, and that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. It's just that like you
Is
also
this
could probably
this?
grow. You probably have all the hair on your top of your head, like I do. So there you go.
Yeah. Brag about it. Don't be
Yeah, brag
braggadocious.
about it much. Full head of hair,
I remember
people.
those days. But I'm kind of concerned about this group of coworkers because we've talked before, and like you got some young bucks who don't even relate to like how a dad bod can even exist. And you're like, wait, 10 or so years, and
I've referenced NWA and I got a what? And so like, I just it's a lot. Sometimes it's a lot, Like I talk about how I was in like middle school in 2001 for various reasons, and they're like, "Oh, I was like 4." And I'm like, "Shut up. Stop talking about it. Talk less." Like like
yeah, I talk about like
yeah.
by now Y2K seems like pretty small beans, and
Yeah.
considering like the last 20 years of events that have happened in this world. But
I told someone about an event that happened locally with us, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, this happened." And they're like trying to Google it. I was like, "That was before the internet." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "That didn't. The internet didn't exist. It was like a small town thing. No one's gonna archive that in our local news." You know what I mean? Like, she's like, "What?" I'm like, "The internet didn't exist. There was
yeah,
no, there was none of that back when that happened." So, yeah, and that happened to me on Friday. And I was like, "You can't Google that. That did not. I'm old enough where I remember no internet." Like, so yeah, I remember that. So AOL discs
dang.
at Target were good disc throwing practice. Anyways, fantasy baseball.
Let's bring it back where we are online now.
We
You
have the internet.
we and you can find us at Fantasy Dad Pods on the Twitter X.
Twitter X, yeah, whatever it's called nowadays. We're gonna call it Twitter because whatever, who cares? It's Twitter.
So not only can you listen to on your favorite streaming device, but follow us online for anything that we might tweet, retweet. Do you still? Is that still like a?
That's gotta be what is it?
Are you still
Re-X? I'm
tweeting?
not doing that. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
gonna I'm gonna exit up or exit around.
I
X
just
gonna
feel
give
it
it
just
to
feels
you.
like it just feels like too DMXy where X is gonna give it to you, and I don't want to do that. So we're just
Wait,
gonna.
R.I.P. Is that?
Did he die? Yeah, he did. He did.
Yes, I'm pretty sure
Yes.
R.I.P.
He
Yep.
did. He did. We're at that age, JT, where we don't know who's alive or dead. Like we're at that point where
Albert
we
Pujols. Sorry,
Albert Pools. You've
that's
been
a
calling it for a while. Hasn't
deep
happened yet.
inside joke.
Hasn't happened yet. That is all inside joke. If when we're still recording when that happens, we'll fill it. We'll fill you guys in there.
Yeah. So if you want to know more, tweet at us about the Albert Pujols joke. But otherwise, we're going to get into some fancy baseball. Lots of lots and not lots of free agent signings. So I feel like we've had a pretty lukewarm stove so far, and the big like we've enjoyed all the appetizer players, but there's still some big ones. The main course is still coming, type of vibe. So they're gonna have to crank up that stove to heat it up to get those. So we're just gonna do some catcher rankings on this one, and then we'll probably maybe in later episodes talk about any big signings if it makes waves, or otherwise just continue with the rankings. So up first, we got catchers, everyone's favorite position. Um,
You love a dumper. You gotta. They have the big dumpers. Like that's the best. The
yeah,
backstop, if you will.
I saw an interview of Maddox, and it might have been a while ago, but Greg Maddox was interviewed, and he was talking about how he would call the game with his catcher. He jokingly was like, "Well, you know, I pitch once every 5 days. My catcher is hitting every day. He's calling what maybe 4 to 6 pitchers in
That
a single
and,
game, let
and
alone
back then
across
they
five
caught like
days."
way more often too. They didn't
Oh,
take as many
right.
days off. Yeah,
And he's just like he's got enough to worry about. I'll call my game. And so he's just talking about how he would shake off his catcher so much, but it wasn't like anything negative or bad at all. It was just he was almost wanting to take it upon himself.
take it
Just like,
off.
this is what I'm throwing. And I'm like, man, if Maddox had pitch calm,
Oh,
it
jeez.
would have been redonkulous.
And another thing, it's great Maddox.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about control of control. You know what I mean? Like of all the dudes that's gonna call his game, you just probably like, okay, yeah, I'll let you do your thing.
Right. So first couple names on these catcher rankings, I don't think these pitchers are really going to be shaking them off too much. Um, he is risen. It's Adley Rutschman, number one. Is he your absolute number one with a bullet?
I mean, he has to be at least coming into this year. Yeah, I think he's taken number one pretty comfortably. They see him here at 50th overall player. I guess the real question is, JT, are you taking him there?
No. If you are an avid listener of Fantasy Dad Pods, we both pretty much agree. Sorry, spoiler alert for I was gonna should ask you the same question,
No,
but catcher's not in the
correct.
top 100.
Well, okay. How far down? Let's say he drops. Well, I mean, like he drops to like 86, where Wilson Contreras, the fourth catcher, is predicted to go. Do you take him there? Like I know the rule is usually top 100, but at a certain point, I feel like the value comes into it for an Adley Rutschman type. Where
Yeah,
does he have to fall for you to take him? Is it still triple digits? I think you convinced me like around that 86 number. I'm like, if he's still there 30 picks after he's supposed to go, I'm like, I mean, obviously it depends on what my team looks like. If I have like a couple guys, but I'm like, oh man, Adley Rutschman, this late, I feel like
you couldn't convince me of Adley. Um, just based on the fact
he's the only
that
one I'm taking top 100, even considering it. Like,
it's
yeah,
so many plate appearances. It's the DHing,
mhm,
and so it's just he's up to plate a lot. Real Muto used to be kind of in this.
yeah.
I think that's the fringe because the stolen bases added is a nice little bonus. Um, but I don't know if we have really any catchers overall that are hitting 30 dingers in a season. I mean,
Because they
maybe
don't play
one or
enough. Yeah,
two. Yeah. I mean, you could convince me maybe the way the draft's going, or if if I got to pivot or something, but I would be reluctant to. Let's put it that
yeah,
way.
yeah. I guess that's saying high praise for us of like with that fact that we consider taking a catcher as Adley top 100 is like that's saying a lot. I think Adley's clearly number one. There is no one else I'm even looking at before 100. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess let's
It's
say that's a whole tier gap, obviously, right? Like,
it's the plate discipline. I think I
yeah,
mean, he's obviously young. We're talking about him enough. I should just bring up,
he's 25.
he's 25. Thank you.
Yeah,
So he's from the Pacific Northwest, Oregon State kid. So I think we've probably known about him a little longer than most. ish, even though Oregon State is a beast of a collegiate team. So all of our kids are going to go play baseball there. That's a
Hmm.
lock. But it's a play discipline. 92
Yeah.
walks on the season last year, only
Basically a one for one
101
K to walk. Yeah.
strikeouts
Yeah.
with an 810 OPS and,
Yeah.
I mean, 31 doubles, 20 home
I mean,
runs,
he still had like basically 600 bats as a catcher and had 800 OPS. Like
mm-hmm.
with what everybody else did at that position, 800 OPS with basically 600 at bats, that's massive. Like that's huge. Now, I mean, he's still young enough; he could probably easily do that. They're going to need him to basically this year, and he's going into his 25th season. Dynasty League, yeah, that makes you feel good, but like Dynasty League, like that's where I get even more nervous. I'm like, oh gosh, how long does that continue? That brings me to my next tier in the start is JT Realmuto. You talked about he steals bases. He's going to be 32, 33. Uh, like you know, he steals 10 bases this year. If that would that surprise you? It wouldn't surprise me. And that's why I'm kind of like he's not even in the conversation for
Yeah.
top 100 anymore. Like he was
Yeah.
going 2020 and 2020 and 2022. That's a lot going on
Mm-hmm.
with an 820 OPS. Like yeah, we can have that conversation. Like that's a top 100 player. But that's not happening again. I don't think anymore. And so you have to adjust accordingly not what you did in the past, but what you're going to do. Because you're not drafting what he did in the past 3 years. You're drafting what he's going to do. And a 2016 stolen bases with a 760 OPS and only 890 plate appearances, over 100 less, 490, 480, like 100 less than Adley Rutschman. Like, it is a lot. It's a big drop. And I think we're looking at more closer to like 2010 in that situation, around a 750 OPS. And that's not a top 100 player for me, regardless of position.
Agreed. Everything that you said, and the one thing that it's like, yeah, ages factors 32. I still feel like he could eclipse double digit, that 10 to
Yeah.
12 stolen bases, but he's starting to strike out a little bit more each year, and
They
it's
just don't have a
just
lot of. They don't have a lot of. They can't DH him a ton either because that team has so many DH guys.
yeah.
They just don't. If you were on a different team where they're like, "Hey, we have a lot of young athletic kids like the Dimebacks or something like that," they're like, "Oh, he could DH a bunch more," but they just can't afford to DH him a ton. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
so I'm just that also the lineup that he's with. I'm like, it's gonna take away his at bats.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like he could be like someone just kind of writing him off. He could be a nice slide pick,
Mhm.
but I don't think you need to reach for him.
Is he your catcher too? Like number two?
Oh man.
I think he's still there with me because I think, like you said, if he gets to like 10 to 12 stolen bases, other catchers might hit more home runs, but he's still going to be a competent player at the plate, 750 OPS, and he's going to get you 12 stolen bases at catcher. And his at bats are probably going to line up close with everybody else's at bats. So I don't foresee a huge drop. Again, some other guys might get him in a couple categories or a category or two, but he's in a good lineup, so he's going to get RBIs and runs. Again,
Hmm.
he's going to steal way more bases than anybody else in this lineup. Hit you less home runs, but he's going to not hurt you there. He's still going to probably get you about 20. And that OPS is going to be totally fine. Like, especially for catcher, it's going to be totally playable. And I think the
Yeah.
bonus with the stolen bases is going to make up for whatever else he's lacking.
I Man, I would have normally said Will Smith, but Otani DHing full time
Full time.
is
Yeah.
just like part of Will Smith's ability
Yep.
to hit so much these last couple of years. So, or I guess just this last year, but that goes away. I still like Will Smith in terms of just
I mean, even with that, he still only had
career
460 plate appearances last
trajectory.
year. Like, he's
Yeah.
still. I mean, that's 120 less than Adley. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like that's just what catchers do, sub 500, and
Hmm.
he has a higher OPS, but he still hit less home runs than JT last year. He's gonna steal, 13 less stolen bases last year than him. I'm just like, I just don't know if he makes it up enough. The end of the other stuff.
Yeah. I feel like I'd either, if Adley can get it at a good pick, or I just kind of lay off on it and see if any
Mhm.
of, because I don't feel like JT's really in a tier amongst himself. I
No.
like the Contreras brothers.
Hmm.
Still Will Smith or I don't know. We're just kind of reluctant here. Heim isn't. Sean Murphy had a really strong start, and I thought he would produce a lot more runs and ribbies. I mean, he still had good power and everything. It's just I don't know.
He
Just
only had 370. That's the issue. I think.
hmm
I think when he played, he might have been per plate appearance the best catcher in baseball. He just only played 370 at bats. I mean, he
right,
had 21 home runs, same as JT, in 120 less at bats. He had an 850 OPS. That's amazing. Just he didn't bat a ton. Like that was what it came down to.
right.
I just yeah. At bats, man. Like watching these people who are qualifying for like 300 at bats. I'm just like, what do you do with that?
Woof.
You know what I mean? Like yeah, like that's
What's your take on Old Man Perez or Young Buck Yainier Diaz?
I always immediately like go to the young buck because like catcher's just so hard. You know what I mean? Like on the body. I always think like Salvador Perez is like 40 and he's like 33. Like I'm older than Salvador Perez. Like I'm like this guy has to be 40 and he's only 33. But I'm like 33 in catcher's years, man. Like
It's true. That's a good
it's just
point.
like, and they're moving him off. They're having him play some first now just to get his bat line up more. So that, I mean, that does make me feel better that like they're willing to play catcher, willing to play first, but he's still very adamant about playing catcher. I just so in the grand scheme of things, he'll keep catcher eligibility in this league, no problem. But like he did have over 500 bats. I think Salvador Perez, as someone who's always been down on Salvador Perez maybe needs to climb. Just his stats are just dropping. Like I'm just like because you liked Adley, you're talking about him with his strikeout to walk. Obviously,
hmm
Salvador Perez is not going to do that. He is not going to walk.
Kind of
That's
the
going to hurt his
opposite.
value. Yeah, he does hit a lot of dingers for playing catcher. You know what I mean?
hmm
And he's going to play. Like he's gonna get those time at DH, get those time at first because it's the Royals. But again, with that comes no RBIs and no runs. Really, there's just no one. He's gonna get any help there. And man,
It's
I don't.
weird to say that I would appreciate Salvador Perez
Yeah,
more in an average league than an OBP league.
that's where I was slowly getting to. I was like, because I'm always like immediately like when you were like Salvador Perez, I'm like the other person. But I'm like,
Eh,
as I was talking, I was like, I'll find a way to talk myself into the young kid. I was like, I probably
right.
just gotta go Salvador Perez. I was like, just
Well,
I saw the at bats. He's gonna get 200. He had 200 more at bats than Sean Murphy last year, and I'm just like, I could at least play him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna play a guy at that position, and he's not nothing. He's not like gonna be awful. Like, you know what I mean? He's not gonna just like
hmm
completely bury you. 255 average. You know, like
hmm
a 714 OPS, 720 OPS. Not great, but like a catcher, that's not going to bury you. You know what I mean? Like a catcher that like that's fine.
it's actually better
Yeah,
than you think on the OPS front because his OBP is less than 300 because he
yeah.
doesn't walk.
And,
So
and
that's a
I
good
assume
chunk
that
of power.
I assume the OPS will come back up a little bit. It dipped, but
hmm
he's 33. He's not like he's like I thought he was 40. It'll come back up. I expect like
hmm
around a 730 to 750. With that many at bats as a catcher, like he needs to be higher on this. Like so, yeah. I always say youth, but I got to go Salvi on this one. I got to. I my question is where so Adley Rutschman, JT Lamuto, Will Smith, is that your top three? Or are you sneaking a Contreras brother in there?
Oh, give me Willem. Give me
Yeah,
Willem
I was gonna
Contreras
say
in
he
there.
might be the one that sneaks in. My only thing with him is just like it's such a small sample. Great year last year. 500 plus
hmm
at bats. Again, we talk about catcher. I just don't know if that's him or not. And we're gonna find out this year. And I'm willing to roll the dice on a catcher, because again, upside, it's not gonna probably hurt you a ton if you kind of swing and a miss. Just don't have it be a 180 batting average, something like that. Just make some contact, walk into some hits. But I think after that, I probably go Adley, JT. Man, no, man, I don't know. I probably go Adley, then anywhere between JT, Will Smith, William Contreras. You could make me draw names out of a hat for those three. Like, honestly, you could convince me any of the three to go, and you could tell me one, 2 through 4. Like you could in any order. I
Mhm.
as someone knows, I'm a big Sean Murphy guy. I invested him heavily. I think Cal Raleigh deserves a lot of like love because he's up here in the Northwest. But I mean, he just hits dingers. Like you know what I mean? Like he's gonna play a bunch, 500 at bats, and he's gonna hit dingers. And it's 760 OPS. You know, as a catcher who plays 500 at bats, awesome, like awesome. Um, but I gotta bump up Salvador Perez a little bit. Just looking at his numbers and what I think he's going to do with that OPS bounces back and just him playing so much. He's. I just think that like I can't believe I'm even doing it, but I gotta give him some love. If Sean Murphy could play 500 bats, he might even be my number two. But I just don't know.
Agreed. That's a
I don't know if
good.
he's going to play
Yeah.
500 bats.
Yeah.
So Sean Murphy only falls not because of talent, but because of at bats. So then I probably go. I'll probably just leave it as this: JT Realmuto, Will Smith, William Contreras. No care. But then I go. You got to go, JT. I got to think about this more. I don't even know where I go after that. After those four, where do you go after? Like, giving me your order 1 through 4, then give me 5, 6 if you got it.
It's Adley, Big Gap, and then
Yep.
and then it's oh man.
I know these three. Like, I'm looking at these three, and I'm just like, I don't.
Give me. I'm starting to think playing time and lineup,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I almost want to. Obviously, Will Smith is in an amazing lineup. I just
Him
don't know how much he's only going to hit when he catches. I don't think there's any way to
and JT are
DH
the same
now.
basically. Amazing lineups,
Yeah,
only going to basically catch. So
and that Milwaukee lineup has gotten a little bit better with JT's old buddy
I mean, it's
Reese
harder to get
Hoskins.
worse. but yeah, technically. Yeah.
I don't know. I always come around on Milwaukee's hitting lineup. Like every year, I'm like, talk me into it.
Could
Like,
it? And then it doesn't. There's
yeah,
always like one random guy, like a shortstop or second baseman, who's like, I'm good. And then you're like, what? Like Colton Wong 2 years ago, he's like, I'm good. And we're like, how did you hit that many home runs? Like, what, like,
yeah. You know what though? You know who's hitting in the top of the lineup? That it's Contreras. Contreras going to hit in the first three batters of that lineup.
yeah.
And if we're talking like
I mean,
opportunity,
who's gonna be there? Are they gonna have like Yelich bat too? Then
yeah, one or two lead off, or yeah, I would think so.
yeah, I think let me see what roster resource says here for what their projected lineup is. He's batting two apparently. Christian Yelich have it at 1. Interesting,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
South
Yelich lead
Free, they're
off, and then
really going into
Contreras.
South. Reese Hoskins, Willie Adamas. That's not a bad 1 through 5. I mean, who knows what South Freelick is, but I mean, that's not bad. Willie Adamas, not a huge, but he's your 5 hitter. See what happens. You got a bunch of young guys underneath him. So you know what I mean. Like, but
Yeah, give me Contreras from Milwaukee. I want. Let's just do it.
I mean, if he gets
I'm
500 bats,
sorry.
like,
As
yeah, no,
yeah,
that's
well, as much as Sean Murphy is your boy, is like Will Smith has been my boy for a while,
yeah.
and I'm like, I think I'm outie
I
on
think
this year.
I think more Sean Murphy was more my boy because people just forgot how good he was. He was just in Oakland.
Yeah,
I was like, just you need to pay attention to Sean Murphy, everybody. Like, because everyone's like, oh, he's going to Atlanta. I'm like, guys, like Sean Murphy is very good at baseball, and that ballpark is butt, and no one cares about Oakland. So he
hmm.
goes to Atlanta, and again, in a 850 OPS, like he was like the best catcher per at bat, but like again, he only had 300. So
Wait,
yeah,
time out. Did you see the image? Utah cares about Oakland. They have this huge billboard, bring the ace to Utah.
I did. I did. So
Yeah.
just get him out of that ball. He's not in the ballpark anymore. He doesn't care. Yeah, Wilson Contreras could totally be like your. So Wilson is your 2, and then you go what? Will Smith, JT.
JT Will Smith. I'll go
Okay,
Will Smith
because you've been a JT
for.
boy too, a fanboy too. So I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And for reasons I've already said, I like the
Yeah.
stolen base chip in, but otherwise, Will Smith's I just usually he's been hitting a lot better in the lineup, and I just appreciate his power more than JT,
Yeah.
but man, there is a if we're talking about tiers, that if that's tier two
Yeah, for
probably
sure.
with, and
100%.
Sean Murphy will just depend on opportunities. I
Mhm.
mean, Darnold is still there. That's
So
what
you
cuts
got
into it.
those are the four. Then where does it go? 5, 6, 7, 8. Because that right there is Yanner Diaz,
Well,
Cal Raleigh, Sean Murphy, Salvador Perez, and then or you could even throw the Contreras brother in there too, or you can fill out the top 10, whatever you want to do. How does it fall from there? Because I think that's you're correct. That is like definitely those three are the tier, and then it's another tier.
the next tier is they have a bunch in common.
Yep,
They don't walk much and they strike out a lot and they just try to hit dingers, which I appreciate. Like
and they all have dad bods. We appreciate this area. I don't want a catcher who's good looking and fit Adley Rutschman. I need some roundness to you.
yeah, absolutely. It's really a coin toss. I mean, Yanier
Well, that's what
Diaz,
we're here for,
like that
JT.
wasn't a whole lot
Yeah.
of at bats. That was a ton of strikeouts, and we think Salvador Perez doesn't walk. Like Yanier didn't. What is that percentage or what is that number?
They have a contest, and it's who could not
11
walk.
out of like 355 at bats, 11 walks,
Do you know what would be a super
74 strikeouts.
entertaining game? A bunch of like Yanner Diaz and Salvador Perez and George Kirby's. Like it's just gonna be everything's in the zone. Like it's just everything's. No one is going to first on a walk. Period. Like not
Just
happening.
jousts at the mountaintop of the
Yeah,
strikes. It just
it's like
gonna
everything's
live
in
in
this
a
box,
box.
and we're gonna see if we can
Yes.
hit it. Like,
Instead
I
of
really want to see it
instead
now.
we're not thinking outside the box. We're gonna just
Mm-mm.
pit them together in a box.
Yeah. Yander's like, I'm not going to first on a walk. And George Kirby's like, exactly. You are not going to first on a walk. Yeah. Agreed.
Right. You're walking in the dugout. Either way, it's either
Yeah.
whether you take a tour around the bases or not.
Yep. Exactly. That would be a fun matchup. But yeah, man. Oh shoot. I probably as much as I like younger guys, this is again we're gonna say this barring injuries because this is a catcher position. I probably say Cal is my number 5. He's still only 27. Feels like he's been in the league for a long time.
Mhm.
He did just hit 30 bombs. He's constant like full seasons hit 27 and 30. You know what I mean? The OPS might not be there as some of these other guys, but he's rocking a 760, 770 OPS. Totally awesome. And he's going to play. As someone who we both follow the Mariners, they did sign Mitch Garver. Mitch Garver, I don't think is a very is at all. He's brought to be their DH. They did. Who did they just sign? JT. They lost Tom Murphy, their major league backup catcher.
Mhm.
They brought somebody else in who is not really what you think of as a major league catcher. He is the dude. He's gonna get 500 at bats. It's just what it's gonna be. I think. Like the pitchers love him. He's gonna get 500 bats. And you tell me you're gonna get 500 bats at a actually, I even short shirted him. It's probably like a 770 OPS the last 2 years combined or something close to that.
Yeah.
That with 500 bats, I'm taking that. I am with a catcher. I just don't want someone who's going to bury me. I'll go safe. I'm just a little worried with like the Yander Diaz, the Salvador Perez's, just due to like they're going to play, but like Salvador Perez we talked about is kind of going down a little bit in the rungs just because like he's getting older, he's getting up there. I expect a little bit of bounce back, but I'm not expecting, a 730 OPS or something like that. He's going to get the same number of bats. And Yonder Diaz, like, he is just so young, 25. Like, I say this a lot, and it's mainly for football, but it's like 1 year can lie to you. Like, it happens all the time. Remember when, now I can't remember the shortstop's name for the Astros. Who's his name? What's his name?
The catcher?
The shortstop who was all
Oh,
like a rookie last.
Korea? Or no?
No, no,
Oh, the year just
yeah,
recently.
yeah, he walked off the Mariners in their playoff series. Or not walked off, but basically ended it in the 11th inning. What was his name? But everyone's like, oh, he's a second. He's great. He's getting next Correa, and he was not
Pena,
good this last
Pena,
year. Yeah, he was not good this year, and I was like,
Jeremy
and,
Pena.
and really, it just came down to he had like 2 good months, and that was it. And I'm like, I'm not sure he can hit actually. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's where
Hmm.
I'm like, and especially a catcher who's got a whole nother side of the field to worry about, like catching, like receiving pitches, working on plans, all that stuff. They're turning over pitchers. I'm like, You tell me that like, this kid at 20, going to his 25 years, is going to struggle with the bat, and it could be a real struggle. I mean, he only had 350 at bats. He had great numbers in those 350, but like, you tell me he drops 100 points in OPS, I could easily see it. And so I'll take Cal because I know what he's going to be for this year. If Yonder Diaz had 2 or 3 years in the majors, then I'm like, absolutely. But he only did 1 year at 350 at bats. And I'm just like,
Yep.
it scares me to be like the number 5 catcher if you've only had 350 at bats. I'll take Cal, who's going to hit me 25 home runs minimum and give me like a 760 OPS in 500 bats. I know that's what he's going to do, barring an injury. So I'm like, I'm fine with that. I'll take that instead.
Yeah. Besides, Cal's only a year older than Pena, so
That's true.
boom.
Yeah, it'd be Cal, and then I really just want to make Sean Murphy like my number 6. I think he'll get more at bats this year, so I'm going to make him my number 6. I'm going to make him my 6 because I think just per play appearance again, he's like the second best catcher in baseball. So I'll go him at 6. I'll go Salvador Perez at 7, and I go Diaz at 8. Again, you could probably talk me into flipping any of those 4, but that's where I'm at right now. That's probably where I end right now. Those 4 in that order. Because I mean, again, then at like 9, you got Wilson Contreras. I just think that like my issue with Wilson Contreras is not Wilson Contreras. It's the whole thing of what happened in St. Louis this year.
Mm-hmm.
The manager dogging him, then he's not in the doghouse, then he is, and I'm just like, I just want to know if my guy's gonna play. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about like all this like fighting that you're having with him in the clubhouse. Just is he gonna play baseball? And you're like benched him for like 2 weeks for really no reason, and then like he's back playing and he's a good player, but I'm just like, what are we doing here, St. Louis? Just let him play. Just let him play baseball.
Yeah. I think I want to get spicy in my tier 3 here.
Do it.
I am looking at some names that are like
down
all
below.
over this list. So
also, I'll
we should
preface this
mention
with this. It's tier 1 and 2, and I have sort of a tier 3, but it can go a lot of different ways. Tier 3 for catcher.
Fast.
Yeah. You're throwing darts basically at tier 3.
And I guess we should preface, or maybe we might have said it, but Fantasy Pros, we're just looking at the combined catcher rankings just for kind of visual reference. But, okay, so the furthest down I'm considering is MJ Melendez. This is going to be his last year for catcher eligibility.
Was it? Sorry. You on him last year too?
Yes.
Yes.
And why? Because he's basically trying to be a catcher and steal a few bases and has a good OBP and hitting at the top of a lineup that's slightly getting a little bit better than last year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in my consideration up here. The other Seattle quote unquote catcher, he's really DH only probably, is Mitch Garver. Dude has some slugging ability, and if he can stay healthy, I feel like he's going to be our primary DH in Seattle.
You're talking about OBP.
And
yeah.
We're talking some opportunity because the top of our lineup is solid, but that's all it is. And so in terms of catcher, I feel like that's a big opportunity.
My only issue with him is he's always hurt. Like, that's the thing.
Yes.
Like, he's never at 300 bats. And so I'm just like, what am I going to get out of that guy? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I agree talent-wise, kind of like the Sean Murphy thing. I just am like, how many bats are you going to actually give me? You know? Like, if you told me he was going to play 400, he'd be like, he'd skyrocket up this thing. But what if he plays 180? You know what I mean? Like,
it's wedding pressures. You look over, stop getting hurt. You're making us look like a bunch of pansies.
Yeah, exactly.
Jonah Heim, I think that's kind of your new guy. I think you were on the Heim bandwagon before I was.
I did. He definitely had a rough end of the year. Like a lot of Rangers really struggled after the All-Star break, and people didn't realize it, except for Corey Seager, who just like destroyed everything and wins the MVP without Ohtani. But like, he was like he dropped down to like a 750 OPS after having like an 800, 850 for most of the year, and so it does scare me because in his previous full season he was sub 700, and I'm like, it's one of those things again. I'm like, was it a hot 2 months? And are you like closer to the 700 guy? Because like last year I was like on him for a while because I'm like, he's hot. Let's do this thing. But then at the end of the year, I'm like, dude, you really came down. Like who are you? You know what I mean? Like who really? I am a little nervous. I am a little nervous that I think we saw his true colors. We've seen now a year and a half of him being a basically a 700 OPS guy. And I'm just like, I think that's you, and you just had a hot 2 months to start the season. I really think that's what happened. But
Yeah. Yeah, very
but
well
it could be
could
wrong.
be.
Could be wrong. But yeah, I just again that's the thing with catchers. Jonah Heim has had one season over 410 at bats. So that was last year, and he had a 760 OPS, which is really good. But like the year before, he was sub 700, and the year before that, he was sub 600. So I'm like, I don't know who you are. I really just don't know who you are. So that's why I kind of lean towards the Cal. I'm like, at least I know who Cal is, and that is, as people say, like sometimes you might not run a league because you play that safe. You know what I mean? And I get swinging for it because catchers could be a position you go for it, and that is. I just view my catcher position as I kind of want to know at least I'm going to get some at
Yeah.
bats and they're going to be okay. So, but they could get hurt, so it is what it is.
I'm also intrigued by well, obviously Francisco Alvarez. I'll mention that because it's still a prospect hype. It's not post hype yet, right? He's
No,
still probably like get this year to really fully like prove himself. So
I mean
um
he had a 740 or 440 slug. I mean, he still had a 720
yeah.
OPS.
Give
Like, I mean, everyone's like,
give
oh,
me that
209 batting average. I'm
potential.
like, look, he still had a bunch of dingers. Like, that's
Yeah.
what he's up there for.
And then the ones that I'm just like, Gabe Moreno, I didn't really see enough, but man, and I feel like was it leading up to World Series? He was, or maybe going into the playoffs, like September. He was on a hot streak, which is kind of fun to
Yeah.
see. Bo Naylor, maybe. That Cleveland lineup is pretty much what Seattle is. It's kind of top heavy, and then if Kyber Ruiz,
It's funny that you say it's top heavy. It's
oh yeah,
Jose Ramirez heavy. I think it's a better term for it. But yes, yeah.
hey, Ramirez is like a stuffed animal. Like he looks so squishy,
We
but
talk
then
we talk about underrated guys. How does that guy steal like 30 bases? Like I could look at him and I'd be like, how does this guy have wheels every time? Like I always like for a split second. This is a trip inside Sean's head. Every time I'm like, okay, Jose Ramirez steals all these bases. I know this, and every time it comes to the bat, I'm like, that guy. That's Jose. No, it's Jose
that's the
Ramirez. And I'm like,
guy.
every time for a split second, I'm like, he. And I just don't know how he does it, but he just scoots, man. He just goes.
He's inconspicuous. He would be a formidable opponent playing that board game or the card game coup.
Oh yeah,
It's just
you'd
like you would
never.
never
Yeah,
assume.
yeah, yeah. Never. He'd be terrible to play with because you always win. He'd be like, what happened? He'd be like, I won.
Yeah,
Like,
or what is it? Werewolf, kind of same, kind of
oh yeah,
similar type thing.
yeah. Like, somewhere you have to
Um,
guess if somebody's this. He'd get you every time. He's like, I'm on
every
second.
time.
He'd look up, be like, I'm on. He's like, I'm on second. I'm like, what? How did you get over
What?
there? Yeah,
And then Kyber Ruiz, if he was in a better situation, I feel like he's he's that like end of the third tier where what, I've just punted on everything, but at least I need to save face. I could see like a Kyber Ruiz or like Elias Diaz or just someone with like
yep.
they're the dude and they're going to get a lot of opportunities to hit.
I feel like this is a lot of like because catchers come up usually later. There's very few like. Watch then San Diego's guy's gonna come up this year like, what is he like 18 now? But like
Mm-hmm.
because he was like the last cut last year at 17 for them or something like that. Something stupid. But I'm all for it though. Call him up. But there's a lot of catchers that are like young for catchers, which is like 24, 23, that I feel like, or like, like 24 to 27. Like we're talking Cal, Yonder, the Contreras brothers, Adley Rutschman, Sean Murphy, how old is he? He's 29, so I guess he doesn't quite fit here. But like you're talking about Bo Naylor, Ruiz, Jonah Heim. I feel like there's a lot of young catchers. Your Kansas City guy, MJ Melendez. There's a lot of guys who you're just like, I feel like we'll figure out who they are as a catcher. Because a
Yeah.
lot of it is just like they played like half seasons, and again, a half season for a catcher is like a fourth of a season almost. You know what I mean? It's like really like a fourth of a position player season. So you're talking to guys who have like over 2 seasons, they get called up and they're like, here's like 110 at bats. And then here's your first full season issue at like 380, 400. And you're like, okay, I don't quite know who you are yet, but like I could see it, but maybe like one half a season was good and the other one wasn't. So I'm like, man, I don't know who you are yet. And so like I feel like a lot like we're gonna know who Jonah Heim really is. We're gonna know who Ruiz is. We're gonna know who I think Diaz
Hmm.
is. So I'm like I'm kind of looking forward to this year because I feel like this year is gonna really shake up these rankings. Maybe not the very tip top. I think Will Smith, JT, those guys have a floor that's gonna keep them kind of at a tier. But like if you told me that this kind of got blown up versus all their positions next year, I could totally see it. Like all these guys could pop off, and or they all could struggle, and you're like, this, it all just changes. So I'm like, I'm really looking forward to how all these younger guys shake out. Seeing Bo Naylor get some at bats, he's got what
Yeah.
barely over 200. I'm like, let's see who full season with Bo Naylor coming in. Like a full season of maybe with some talent around him. Keibert Ruiz, like he's finally like Washington's getting a little better. Maybe like they've got some talent. Like maybe get something there. Like they got a plan now. So I just I really want to see how this shakes out. I want to see how some of these guys seasons go. But that's why I think I lean more towards I'm gonna probably fall in the Cal Raleigh range. Maybe
Hmm.
140 in our league probably because he'll probably be overdrafted a little bit, but like a 140 to 160 range in my catcher, and that's a Cal Raleigh. I don't know if I could not resist a Sean Murphy in that range. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm gonna probably fall there because I don't know if I'm gonna draft a backup catcher because I'm kind of wuss. But I wouldn't mind. I would probably keep an eye on if someone doesn't get drafted, like you said, like MJ Melendez or something like that, where I'm like, oh, let me keep an eye on him and see how the season goes, and I'm not be afraid to like pounce on him if something happens really quickly. Because if I don't get my catcher of choice, like it's a revolving door until I find someone who's hot. That's how it's gonna be.
Yeah. And after kind of looking back and forth across these, I'm gonna add one more. Sorry, but
Do it. Do it.
dark horse Logan O'Hop
Oh
for the
yeah,
Angels.
yeah,
The glimpse we saw was fun. Then didn't he get injured and he had really, I mean, didn't
yeah.
really have much opportunity on the season. Um, I feel like when healthy, like that was one of the dudes they were hoping to add to the team last year that would
It's
have
more
supplemented.
with that. The problem is like it's the Mike Trouts who he gets hurt, and then
Hmm.
Anthony Rendon who has not also been a pillar of health. Like I'm just like, what else are we rolling out there at
Right.
this point? Like
Honestly, that could be kind of a tier four almost like that. And then, like we haven't even mentioned Kirk. Kirk, we're sitting here, what, a year ago? Kirk's a top 10
Varsho lost
option
his.
or,
Sorry, just reminds me. Varsho lost his eligibility, correct? I believe he did.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty,
Okay. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, Kirk is like he's the dude. Because they traded Arizona guy you just referenced. Drawing a blank. Moreno. They traded Moreno. So Kirk is like the
last
dude
year.
now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, you know,
But man,
good
he
before that rough year last year. But again, it's 1 year.
yeah, yeah, this last year was awful. And so it's like bounce back question mark. I mean,
Yeah.
with, he's only 25,
Yeah.
like, and we've seen it before.
When we say like a rough year for a catcher, again, we talk about it, but at bats are so important. He's had like 370 at bats. Like that's a rough. He has like a rough month, rough 4 weeks, and that like his whole season's basically tanked as a catcher. So it's
Hmm.
like like I don't hold it for a guy, especially for a catcher. You really need a full season to see who these guys are, or maybe two, because it's just like you don't know what they play so little. They have so little at bats. It's hard to really gauge them off of one season versus more than any other position. So yeah, I don't. Kirk is like a guy that I definitely would keep an eye on. Like I don't know if I'd roll him starting with him, but like you said, like draft somebody else. And if you draft a Mitch Garver and prone to get hurt, I would be tagging like the for example, like we're probably not going to have guys in the first four, me and you, JT, because they're probably going to go around
Hmm.
100, and we probably just won't be in that pool. We might not even get the next kind of couple tiers because people are like, oh, catchers and kind of freak out a little bit. We'll probably get around the Jonah Heim, probably maybe Bo Naylor, Francisco Alvarez, maybe even not even that, maybe Ruiz or something like that. Mitch Garver, roll with that, and then, but you got to at that point you've got to go tag your MJ Melendez, your Alejandro Kirks, things like that. Are you? I How are you feeling on Lingerhans? I don't Shay. I think that he again it's 1 year as a catcher. You know what I mean? And that team just has nothing. So I feel like saying like he's toast after 300 bats. Like
Um, is it him and Soderstrom there? Are they kind of splitting it?
I
I
think
forget
one of them's eventually
how.
going to move off, basically. So
Okay,
um, I just feel like it's for a guy that had a lot of hype. I just don't think that like 400 bats for his career is like okay, we're done with this guy. I just feel like does have a sub 700 OPS, but I feel like I feel like I don't want to say a breakout, but more hits are coming. And if you told me like I got later, way later, like a free agent off the waiver wire pickup and a guy hits 730 with 24 home runs, I'm like absolutely. I don't have to like spend a 120th overall pick for that at my catcher position. I could just get one free. That's somebody I'm just keeping a tab on. Just somebody like that.
God, you made me look at the depth chart for the 2024
Don't
projected A's
don't
lineup.
don't.
There's one player projected above a 320 OBP. OBP.
Yeah,
One.
yeah.
Okay, I'm clicking away.
You
Um,
avert your eyes. Yeah.
I think
Is it
it's
Brent
yeah.
Rooker? Is that who it
It,
is?
it's Noda. Ryan
Really?
Noda, who's supposed to be
The
first
best
baseman
part is too,
leadoff.
and I don't want to say the best part is, but they're not young like either. It's not like you have a bunch of young guys coming up and you're like,
Mm-mm.
this is gonna be. I'm like, one guy below, two guys below the age of 25. You're like, and one of those guys is Estrella Ruiz, who I make I might make as much contact as Ruiz. Like let's be honest here, but
Right? But when he's on base, you know
when he's on base, man,
he's
he is the
going to
opposite of Jose
steal
Ramirez.
third.
Yeah, he is the opposite of Jose Ramirez.
He's literally yelling, "Hey, I am going on the next pitch."
Yes, yes. Good luck, everybody else. Yeah.
Right.
So, but
Oh. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
give me Kirk as a post type sleeper. I mean, that plate discipline is great. And we've seen it before in terms of like if I'm not saying you need it, but 12 team and it's just like, oh, everyone has a catcher. I
yeah,
would I'd definitely roll with it. I mean, we're talking about, 15 team, you're one of the last three teams. I could see it,
yeah, yeah. No, there's
but
no.
I don't mind rolling the dice on something like that because if you're waiting that late, it's a really easy position to fill through the free agent wire because you're not like, super committed to that
How is
late
Tyler
catcher pick.
Stephenson only 27?
Really?
That's what I said. I'm like, it's like I didn't think he was as old as Salvi, but I was just like, this guy's been around a while. He's 27.
I
That
would have
COVID year really messed with my brain because he came up in like that COVID year. I'm just like, I thought like
hmm
he'd been a guy for
yeah. In
much
my
longer
head,
than
he was
that.
29 going into his 30th year on this earth.
Yeah, I
So,
thought a three was next to his name. I thought a three was next to his name, and I'm like, dude, not even close. So, dang. Okay. I that is somebody that like Tyler Stephenson in Cincinnati. Not
hmm
like you said, post side sleeper. Pretty good for like 2021, 2022. Good seasons. Rougher 2023, but again, I just it's a nice place. It's a nice ballpark to hit. Not a lot of talent in that division. I just think that like maybe he's a late sleeper too. Kind of like he's for like your Kirk, he's mine. Like I think maybe a bounce back is due for Tyler as well. And they're going next to each other. Like so, 7 picks apart. There we go, and average ADP. So there we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right around there. Like I think like those two guys. Yeah, I am much more on Kirk than Danny Jansen. I'm with you there, 100%. I think Kirk's the guy. Kirk's the bat for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Anybody else you wanted to touch? Is there like a sleeper? San Diego's guy, the kid coming up. I can say that because is he even 18 yet? Is he technically still a child? Like,
I you really think he'll I
what's
know that was
no,
the whole thing
no,
on he might break can't. It's like
no. I'm one of those. I'm all for it. I just want to see anybody play. If you think they're ready, like play them. You know what I mean? Like I don't even care. But I'm not. I don't know if I buy the whole like rush people. I think you can play or not. Obviously, seasoning a catcher. It's more like receiving the staff. It's more that like you're learning that process versus like I think if you hit, you hit. Now, obviously, you don't want like 10 at bats per level. You can actually see some stuff. But I think if you're just a dude, you're a dude no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
there's obviously like if like someone's like, well, you could rush a guy. I'm like, then you were never really ever going to be a dude. Could you have been a little better? Yeah, probably. But like, I don't know if you're never going to rush a dude, a guy who's like Julio. You're not going to rush a Julio because he's going to be like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm a dude. But
Right. I had to pull up the name because I completely
yeah,
forgot.
I can't.
Ethan Salas.
Solace is he even being
17 years,
He's
7 months
17. Still, see, I knew he was like still a kid because I
today.
thought last year he was 16, but he was like on their roster till like some of the last cuts, and I was like, "What are we doing?" Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he already got some seasoning there because a lot of the cuts were already being made and all that stuff. I'm like, he's still on this team. Like, I don't feel like you're doing that for nothing. And I don't know if he's making the team this year, but I'm just like, it's an interesting story. Like, I'm just like, it's very
He,
interesting.
yeah, he ended in double A. He started in just what, low A, obviously,
And then he
made it
ended
to
in
high
double.
A,
How many at
and
bats
then
in
he
double
ended
did
in
he get?
um uh 28. He only had
28. Okay.
35 in high
Probably their
A.
playoff
The bulk
push
of
or
his
something like that.
season, yeah, the bulk of his season was low A, but he made sure to explain that he was above that level.
He did it. That's what I'm saying. Like,
379 WOBA,
yeah, okay, all right.
122 WRC plus.
He's already got a non-roster invitee already this year. So,
Yes.
yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm just saying, like, maybe this guy deserves a. He had high A 30, 37 at bats, and then 33. Like, well, what did you even put him to high A for? You know what I mean? Like, boom. Like, so I was just like, okay, like, yeah, he was. I'm just, you know, call the kid up. He's ready. He's ready. Like, just don't. Maybe not. That's 17, but don't hold these guys down. Don't hold me back. You know what I mean? Let them play. I want to see the young kids play.
Just let him play.
Yeah. Anybody
I'm
else?
trying to think of any. Connor Wong, he got a little streaky last year. How did he fare by the end of the year? Pretty
I don't think he
awful.
ended.
Okay,
I was gonna say I
well,
don't think he ended very
as
well. Um,
I say, he
Elias
had like a
Diaz.
good August or something, if I recollect right.
Elias Diaz. He's 33, but he plays in Colorado.
He is,
735, 740 OPS. Colorado. Like,
yeah.
he
To
just
me,
doesn't hit a
he's
lot
like
of
a
home runs
poor
for like.
man's. He's a poor man's. I'm blanking. Salvador Perez.
Yeah.
That's who he is in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
He plays at elevation, and he's just kind of like he has lots of at bats. Like it's just kind of
Mhm.
like if you reach for one of these catchers and they get put on the IL, Diaz might be their free agent. Just plug him in. Half his at bats are in Coors, and it is what it is.
He is the guy who. I mean, he's what projected to be the 20th catcher. You're in a
Mm-hmm.
12 team league. There's 12 catchers obviously gone. Maybe somebody owns a backup. So 13 catchers. Then injuries start. Elias Diaz will be on four of the teams during the year. Like it's just how it goes. He is a
Right.
guy who will be picked up on about four teams. They'll play him for a couple weeks or a week, and then that's just how it works. He's the guy that is not going to kill you, but he's not. You don't want him playing every day for you, but he's not going to sink you. And I think like don't be afraid to pick him up if again like you talk about average league JT. He hit 270 almost last year in batting
Mm-hmm.
average. Like again, I expected more pop in Colorado, but like he's never been much of a pop guy. But I he is a guy. If you draft an Adley Rutschman and he's out for just a little bit, not like you're talking like 4 months or something like that, but he's a guy who can get you some bats and not kill you. I think that's what you're just looking at catcher. If a guy goes down, someone that's not going to bury you. You don't want to be playing Max Stassi. Sorry,
Yeah.
Stassi. You're the first thing that came to mind. I don't know why. Taking shots at old Angels catcher. But yeah, you don't want to be rolling out that. So
Yeah. another name where I feel like 2024 we're gonna find out a ton about him, and we've been kind of waiting, is Luis Campusano. San Diego, I feel like it is finally like his job. Um,
There's no more. What's his name? Austin Nola. That
right.
experiment's over.
No, but you know who showed up? Um, oh, it's Kyle. What's his? It's from the. He's from the Yankees. Higashi Shioka.
Oh yeah,
Higash.
but he's not a bat. He's just more of
I
a
forget how to pronounce it. Sorry,
yeah,
but honestly, he was a thorn in the side of Gary when before Gary left,
yeah,
and then Kyle. He just got more and more at bats because he's just like I think he's a very excellent framer, if I
yeah.
remember right,
I
and
think a lot.
so
Yeah,
it's
they
just
love
kind of
that. Yeah.
like that. But
Mhm.
I want to see Luis because that was a prospect. Like that was a second round pick. That was a he had some hype. And
He's
I
25.
just
He's still that's like that's a
I think
baby
this
for a catcher
is
almost.
this
Yeah.
is yeah this is his year to see where he lands, and I think he could land in like that kind of tier three we were talking about for sure.
We talk about a baby. I
Um,
mean, he's got 240 at bats in the
yeah,
majors. Let him play. Like, what are you
so
doing? Yeah.
the yeah,
I mean, in a small
uh,
sample size, you're right, JT. I mean, it looks pretty good, but again, we're talking last year was
hmm
160 at bats. Like, this is a guy like you're you're bringing this up. That's actually not bad. This is a flyer guy. Like for sure, if you need a flyer, it's one of those you trust the talent. Just how much is he going to play? And San Diego will be dumb to
hmm
play the old Yankee guy over him. I think personally, like the talent, like you said, the
yeah,
talent's here. Play him, see what he is. You know who Kyle is. You know who he is, and that's a framer. That's it's nothing else. You need him to come in, play some defense. That's fine, but you draft this guy in the second round. You know what I mean? Like, see who he is. Like, it drives me crazy when people don't do this. It happens a lot more in football, but like, you draft a guy, you like a guy, and then you bury him. Like, why do you do it? Like,
right,
you
yeah,
spent the time developing this guy. He's 25. To play him, and again, in the time you gave him some bats, he played very well. Like, you should not be burying him. If anything, he showed he should be the catcher. I'm assuming he's going to be the catcher, but you know how teams are and they're fickle, and I don't know. Some of them try to get too smart for their own good. I think you just need to play him. Just need to play him a bunch, see who he is. He's projected to start right now. I mean, that lineup is still pretty good, JT. Like,
yeah.
obviously,
It
that
is,
lineup's still
it
pretty
is.
good. If
So
Luis is a dude, they have six like Jake Cronenworth. I don't know if he's a dude, but he's a solid major leaguer for sure. There is nothing wrong with playing Jake Cronenworth.
and it doesn't take much to be a serviceable
Yeah,
fantasy catcher.
catcher.
So
I got
Luis has
that's
a lot of
yeah.
upside,
If
and
Luis turns up, they have six guys that are major league for sure, 100% players, and then you just hope somebody else shows up to win this.
yeah. And as I scroll down the rest of this list,
Yeah,
I just kind of want to pour one out for Joey Bart. Like
that's rough.
I hope you invested wisely. You're always pulling for anybody really to do
Yeah,
well, but never really saw it. Why is Omar Narvaez still on here? I don't know. Francisco Mejia, that was another. He had a lot of hype and never really. And wasn't he with San Diego originally? Corey Lee, wasn't he with the Astros originally? Whatever happened to that guy?
hold on. Let me see here. I need to look up something really quick here. And graphs. Let's look it up. Let's look it up.
Pretty confident with the Corey Lee. I thought he was a
Yeah,
Houston.
Alex Jackson is now the catcher. That's him. Okay, I was looking it up because I figured it was the same guy. He's on this list. He's 28.
Wait, Alex Jackson?
The old
Alex?
Mariners first round pick, the outfielder.
Alex Jackson's a catcher?
Yeah, he's been a catcher for a number of years. I knew that. But he's with the Rays right now
I
in
didn't
AAA.
follow him.
Yeah. Uh, But my issue isn't that he's only 28. Like I would have put some serious money he's over 30. I think all these catchers are just like super old. I don't know what it is, but yeah, he played the major or not last year, the year before.
Dang.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I just remember with the Braves. Okay.
Yeah, went to the Braves after
Anyway,
the Mariners. Yeah. Yeah. And then I think he switched positions in Atlanta, I believe. I believe he switched. Yeah, there. Man, that guy, I'm just looking at some of these numbers. 143 OPS plus or WSR plus. Man, Alex Jackson. Sorry, man.
all right. So we're gonna wrap it up here, but as always, we've got a Dad Bod Player of the Week for you, and it wasn't
Oh,
really hard to find. It was Miguel Sano. Dude, dude's just making it look easy down there. I forget what league we are playing in, but if you get on the Twitter X and just search for Miguel Sano, it's the first one. Talking Baseball tweeted it out. He just launches this laser, busts out of the box really fast, but as soon as it leaves the park, he pimps the thing around the bases, beating his chest and walking around, and then he kind of does this weird kind of like chimpanzee gorilla kind of all fours walk thing across home plate.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You got to see
Yeah.
it. We'll
You got to
we'll
see it.
retweet
Like
it
it's
out
hard to
on.
yeah, it's hard to describe it. You have to see it. Yeah.
But we're number 90. Like that's a statement.
Yeah.
So
I saw one where that guy is sidetracked in that same league. I think it's the Dominican Winter League or something like that.
mhm.
And a guy hit a home run, pimped it, and stopped at third and saluted. And then I got pegged the next time, and then Puig is in this league, and then he got into it, and then he got
That's
pegged as
right.
well.
Yeah, Puig's in the league. I
Yeah,
saw
but
Cano's
the
on
stop
this
and
team.
salute was like ultimate. Like like
Dang,
I was like, oh man, you just
just
doing that?
give
Okay,
zero
yeah,
care.
like full on stops rounding the bases, turns and salutes, and just like is like to their dugout, the other opponent's dugout. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna get beamed. I'm not for like. We've had this conversation in our team. I'm like, in our league, our fantasy league, we had this group me, and I'm like, being the people's dumb. Just get them out. That's the best way to do it. You stop and salute the other dugout while you're rounding.
Right.
Like you got to get beat. Like at that time, I'm like, yeah, he probably deserved it. You know what I mean? Like I can't defend that one. Like
I like to take a page out of the KBO league, and they bat flipped like no other. But it's as soon as it's hit, they bat flip, they celebrate for the first couple seconds, and then it is all business around the bases, score, and then go get in the dugout and celebrate more. And I appreciate that.
it,
It's the euphoria of doing it right in the moment, and then you're like, oh, okay, all right, let's get around the bases. That's my business, and then I can go celebrate more.
but it's an ultimate Dad Bod Hall of Fame. I'm gonna just induct the first member, Daeho Lee. Unless you're Daeho Lee, who hits
Right.
the home run and then calls a review on his own home run, so he can literally walk. That is like
Not even
Dad Bod.
trot. Yeah,
That is
not
that.
like
Yeah, didn't even have to trot, so he could literally just walk at a walking pace. He called an instant replay on his own home run. Dad Bod Hall of Fame immediately. Is there like no debate, right? Like no debate. Like that's below softball level style. He's like, instant replay. Let me take my time. Like,
oh man.
yeah, Daeho
Oh,
Lee.
good stuff. All right. Well, he's Sean. I'm JT. You can find us at Fantasy Dad Pods. But we thank you for listening. We appreciate you joining us. Take care. Be well. And until next time, see ya.
See ya.